What's up everybody? Welcome back to the Good View Woodworks channel. My name is Nathan, and in this video I wanted to ask you a quick question. Do you remember that clear table that we poured that had the olive wood in it? If you don't, it'll be right here or right here. Well, this table didn't really turn out the way that we wanted it to. So the question that we're gonna ask here on this channel today is the customer always right? And maybe they're not, maybe they are. Let's get into it. Okay, so the moral of the story is we can't always trust the people that we buy our slabs from. And if you're gonna be making a table for a customer, my experience would tell you, you pick the wood and not use the customer's wood that they already have, unless you have a moisture meter and you can test it and you're comfortable with working with it. In this situation, I didn't do the due diligence and check the slab for moisture. I trusted where he bought it from, which wasn't a place where I normally buy any lumber from, well, at least not live edge slabs. And it was wet, super wet. I'm gonna show you here in just a minute a piece that I cut off, and I'll show you how wet it was. But obviously the customer wasn't happy, I wasn't happy with the product. So we decided to make him another tabletop, and I ate the cost on that. You know what? It's better to keep a customer coming because it's easier to make the second sale than it is the first one, rather than shoot him in the foot, burn bridges and all that. That's no good. So just for cost, we made him another one, and he was super happy. He appreciated it. He's also another content creator over on Instagram, Blackbird VA. I'll link his stuff down in the description so you can go check his stuff out. Does really good leather work. But let's go on to the video. Actually, let me show you that slab really quick and I'll show you how bad it was. Okay, so here's the piece here, and if you can't tell, it's super yellow for one, which this brand of epoxy, I don't even know if they're in business anymore. It was yellow, just wasn't good. But look at this. I'm gonna show from the top view. I don't know if you can see that, but it's shaped like a potato chip. Let me see if I can put it on the table so you can see it better. Okay, so I put it on the bed of my planer so you can see it. You can see how much it moved. Okay, now check this out. As you can tell, there's epoxy on both sides. See? But look at how much moisture has come out of that thing. These are all bubbles from so much moisture being released from the epoxy. It was terrible. Let's get into it. So first off, I want to say the customer is an awesome guy. He dealt with a lot of crap and was super patient. And we decided to work together, and he wanted to do a black walnut river table with black epoxy. And so you can see me here just ripping the slab down and getting it prepped for the form. So we're about to pour this coffee table right here, this black walnut coffee table. And we already have it set up in the form. First thing we need to do is just clamp these two sides down so they don't float in the epoxy when I go ahead and pour it. My go-to when pouring like a casting epoxy, like I'm pouring a big void, is always Incredible Solutions casting epoxy. It's called pourable plastic. It's a 2-to-1 mixture. We got 2 parts epoxy, 1 part hardener. We're gonna go ahead and mix it up in our bucket right there, and we're gonna go ahead and pour it in. This Incredible Solutions stuff is pretty good, pretty awesome. You can pour it 2 inches thick You don't really have to worry about bubbles or anything unless the temperature is really high, but all the bubbles usually evaporate to the top. I have not had any problems with cracking, bubbling, anything like that unless it was user error. The product is really good. So let's go ahead and start pouring.
The kits of Incredible Solutions come in a 3-gallon kit. They also come in a 1.5 and a 3/4 gallon because it's a 2-to-1 ratio. But I like to mix up a 3-gallon kit in a 5-gallon bucket. It just gives me enough space that I'm not splashing epoxy everywhere, but that also we're doing 3 gallons at a time, which saves a little bit of time. If you've watched my channel for any amount of time, you know that I'm a stickler when it comes to mixing, because mixing is where most people fail when it comes to epoxy. You always want to mix thoroughly with a drill mixer and continuously scrape the sides and the bottom the entire time that you're mixing. Also, when you're pouring, just be careful you're not splashing it everywhere, but as far as bubbles go, it doesn't matter too much because you can come in right behind it and use a heat gun to pop the bubbles. This step is totally not necessary at all. It just makes it look cool in the camera, and people love to see the bubbles disappear. It's like, ooh, look at that, I blow something on the top and the bubbles disappear. But yeah, you could just let it go, the bubbles rise to the top, and then you plane them off in the end anyway. So really no real reason to do this except for that it looks really cool.
It's as easy as that. All right, we're gonna let this set up. I am gonna put a fan on it because it's like 85 to 90 degrees outside, and we want a fan continuously blowing on it so that it doesn't overheat, because it's poured a little bit thick. It's poured about 1.5 inches thick. So I'm gonna put a fan on it, and then we'll come pull this thing out of the mold when it's ready.
People ask me this question a lot. They ask me, do you live near a racetrack? We can hear cars flying by all the time. Well, no, it's not a racetrack, but I do live off of a main road. It's a cut-through road between 2 cities, and you can always hear the cars going by at certain times because the speed limit is 55 miles per hour down the road. So if you guys can just, bear with it because, there's nothing I can really do about it, then I'd greatly appreciate that. And I know that my content is similar to others out there, but it's also a little bit different, and if you like it, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. And if you like it, hit the like button. But if you don't like it, hit the dislike button. I don't care. But you guys, I think there's a lot of content out there that is beneficial, and I think this is one of them. So stay tuned and hopefully you learned something. Oh, and guess what? I finally upgraded to a big boy planer. This planer is 25 inches wide. It has a 25-inch wide cutter head. And you can also put a drum sander head in there. You can do helical head in there. It also can adapt to a router to do 3-sided molding. Does all kinds of cool stuff. It's actually a planer molder. And so I had to upgrade. And it's nice being able to push an entire coffee table top through this machine. If you notice, I don't have dust collection yet, but the work's got to continue. So dust collection is the next step in getting this place set up. Here I'm just using my TS75 track saw from Festool along with my dust extractor to trim the table down to its final dimensions. I always make the table oversized so that way I can cut it down to the exact dimensions that the customer wants. It's always good practice to have too. You don't want to go overboard by making it oversized, but just enough so you can trim off the edges. It gives you a nice clean wooden edge. Alright, let's get to sanding. So I'm starting out with 100 grit sandpaper just to give it a really good initial sanding and get all the planer marks out of the wood. And I always start with the wood first because the epoxy tends to clog up the paper quite a bit. And the goal is to continue wiping the surface so that the dust doesn't clog up the sandpaper. So here I'm just wiping the dust off.
Okay, we have a couple little bubbles right here. It's not along the whole thing, just in this one little section. So we're gonna go ahead and use our Star Bond medium. We're gonna touch up these holes right here. It comes in black as well, but because it's a black background, when you put clear on, you're not even gonna see it. And then I have, there's no bubbles along the whole thing. And then I have 2 right there. All you do is take your Starbond CA glue, fill the hole, spray it with the accelerator, psh, 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 and give it like 10-15 seconds and you should be good to sand.
I'm not sure why I said, you can't use or you shouldn't use black. Just use the black. The clear does work, you won't be able to see it, but if you notice you still see the spots, that's because when you spray the activator on it, kind of crystallizes the CA glue, and the thing, you don't want it to crystallize in the hole. So this one was fine, you couldn't really see it, but just use black, right? Just use black. Don't even try to go that other route. Here, I'm just showing you, we're going to work all the way up to 220 because we're using Rubio monocoat as the finish. And I like to stop at 220 there. I always sand the epoxy with 320 after 220 before I apply the Rubio monocoat. And when you're sanding, you want to be thorough, going back and forth in a sweeping motion. Don't go too fast or too aggressive. Let the sander do the work. And I guess I saw a little spot here, so I need a little bit more CA glue, but just touch it up and go about your business. So I'm just going to continue sanding with the 220 and continue wiping the dust off, because that's really what you want to do, is keep it dust free. The dust clogs up the paper and makes it hard to sand. Kind of messes your paper up really quickly. So as you see, I wipe continuously throughout the process just to make sure I have the best sanding I can, essentially. Last thing you want to do is to have pigtails all over the piece, because you'll see that in the final finish. And we don't want to see that, that's for sure. What you see me cleaning the surface here is 91% isopropyl alcohol. It's pretty inexpensive and it's the best cleaner when working with epoxy. So I'd recommend grabbing some of that whenever you start working with a river table or epoxy or what have you. I'm finishing this piece with Rubio monocoat oil plus 2C. And all these materials and things that you see me using in this video, I'll link them down in the description. We're an affiliate with Amazon. It doesn't cost you any more, but it does give me a little bit of a kickback for posting it on in the description of this video. So, just a little bit extra to help give back to the channel a little bit. I would really appreciate it if you did that, and if not, that's cool too, man. All good under the hood.
Okay, guys, so you can see that it's the next day, and with the first coat of Rubio, it's a very dull satin finish. So what we're going to do is we have our sander here with a gray, this is the ultra fine Scotch Brite pad, and we're going to go ahead and scuff the surface and do a second coat. Rubio is mono coat, means one coat, but for black walnut it says you need 2, so that's what we're going to do.
As you can see, after the second coat has dried, it really does bump up the sheen with the second coat. You can always go in after and use the maintenance oil that Rubio requires, but I didn't really notice a bump in sheen with the maintenance oil. So I don't think it's recommended. I wouldn't recommend it. Just stick with the 2 coats of Rubio, and you should be getting pretty things just like this.
So the moral of the story is, don't be like me, okay? You need to check your slab before you use it, okay? Make sure it doesn't have a high moisture content. We want to keep it below 10%, and some climates, depending on where you live, even up to 11 and 12 is okay. This one was way more than that, and you can really see why it moved around. So this is why the customer wasn't happy. I wouldn't have been happy either, but at the end of the video, I'll show you. One of my friends wanted the table anyway because I had finished it. He said, don't throw it away, because I was about to burn that joker. But he kept it, and he sent me some pictures, and I'll show you what it looks like, all the imperfections and everything. All right, I'll save that for the end of the video. So hang on, watch it, stick to the end, and you can see all the stuff.
Guys, sorry about the poor video quality here. It's just a quick snapshot. This is from my friend who I gave this table to. He said he wanted it instead of me throwing it away. But you can kind of get an idea of all the imperfections. There was a ton of them. There's no way I could sell this piece. My friend liked it so much, he's like, dude, I'll totally put it in my living room. So he took it, and I'm glad he's happy with it. Him and his wife like it. And there you have it.
Guys, so that's it for this video. Thank you for watching. It was a blast. Hopefully you learned something, and hopefully this will help you with your future journey in your woodworking shop. It has totally helped me, even though it kind of bit me. And that's my goal here, is to save you guys as much money as possible so that you don't have, because the reason why I'm doing that is so I don't want you to make the same exact mistakes that I made, and hopefully it'll help you in the long run. All right? Thanks, guys. As always, thanks for hanging out with us. Whoa, that was crazy.